Every boat, large or small, needs some sort of anchoring device. If you don't have an anchor, then if you want to go and stop somewhere on a beach like we're doing now, your boat will float away, which is not too crash hot. Now, I guess when people first started mucking around with boats, an anchor was simply a rock or a bit of metal tied to whatever sort of rope they had and chucked overboard. Things are similar now, but not quite the same. Over the years, people have come up with a variety of different anchor designs. These are two of the more common ones. This is a reef pick. This is the old sand anchor or sand plough. Seen better days, this guy, but it'll still do the job. In more recent years, some bright sparks have come up with some really nifty anchor designs. This one's the Saka anchor. It's a sand and reef combination anchor. So it does the job of both the reef pick and the sand anchor, all in one, so you only need one anchor. When you deploy an anchor, when you anchor up, there's a few things you need to know. One is that you need to put out or deploy the right amount of rope, or rode as they call it in nautical terms. There's no point just anchoring up and putting out a few feet of rope because it's not going to hold you. You need to deploy the amount of rope, basically 3 times the amount of rope as per the depth of water that you're fishing in. So if you're anchored up in 10 meters of water, you need to put out at least 30 meters of rope. Now that's for calm conditions. If it gets rough, there's a lot of tide running, if there's strong winds, you need to put out more. You might need to put out 4 to 1, 5 to 1, possibly even more. So if it's rough, if it's windy, if there's a lot of tide, you might need to put out 40 meters of rope if you're fishing in 10 meters of water, or maybe even 50 meters of rope. The other important thing you need to have organized if you're anchoring up is that you've got the right amount of chain. Now, why do you need chain on your anchor? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One is that if you anchor up over a reef, there might be a sharp rock there, your anchor rope could get caught around it, could easily cut it, and then you're adrift and you could be in big trouble. So the anchor protects your line, your anchor rode, against any possible damage. And your anchor chain also acts as a shock absorber. So if your boat is pitching up in a bit of a swell, that movement is softened, reduced, so it doesn't go through your anchor and possibly pull it out of its holding position. So it's really important to have chain. You also need to have the right amount of chain. The basic rule is 1 meter of chain per meter of boat. The fishing world boat out there is 6 meters long. I've got 6 meters of chain. If you had a 4 meter boat, you'd have 4 meters of chain. 10 meter boat, you'd have 10 meters of chain. Just a final quick thing while we're here on the beach. How do you tell how much rope you need to put out? So if if you've got 10 meters of water underneath you, you need to put out at least 30 meters of rope. A little tip that Rex Francis from Anchor Right showed me was to tie a bit of twine or ribbon into your anchor rope every 10 meters. So then when you're letting your anchor rope out, this is the first one, that's 10 meters. Another 10 meters on, you've got another one of these little guys there, that's 20 meters. Most anchor ropes are about 100 meters long for fishing boats. Put 10 of them on there, you know exactly how much rode you've got out. It's a really nifty tip, not hard to do. Now, what we're going to do now is head out in the boat. I'll show you a couple of tips, safety tips relating to the use of anchor winches. Let's head out in the fishing world boat. A lot of fishing boats these days come fitted up with anchor winches. Now, anchor winches are great tools. They save a lot of the back brake that's associated with pulling anchors up. But there's a couple of safety considerations you need to think about. One is that winches are really powerful. That means that if your anchor gets caught down on the bottom and you're trying to winch it up, the winch can actually pull the bow of your boat down. That's really dangerous, especially if there's a bit of a sea running. So if you're in a situation like that, don't risk it. Just cut your anchor off. An anchor's a couple of $100. It's nothing compared to your boat. It's nothing compared to your life. It's nothing compared to your wife and family's life.